They want you to believe that quantum shifting is complicated. They want you to think you need years of study, expensive courses, advanced degrees, and complex formulas to change your reality. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Quantum shifting is so simple that a child could do it. In fact, children do it naturally every day. They shift between emotional states instantly, imagine new realities effortlessly, and believe in possibilities without question. It's only when we become educated that we lose this natural ability and start believing that reality change requires rocket science. The complexity you've been taught is not real. It's a smokescreen designed to keep you dependent on experts, gurus, and systems that profit from your confusion. The moment you realize how simple quantum shifting actually is, you become dangerous to those who make money from your limitations. Today, I'm going to strip away all the unnecessary complexity and show you the elementary principles that govern reality change. These principles are so basic that you'll wonder why anyone made them seem complicated in the first place. But be warned, once you see how simple this really is, you can never go back to believing that changing your life requires struggle, complexity, or external permission. You'll realize you've had the power all along, and that everything keeping you stuck was just smoke and mirrors. The truth is, quantum shifting works on 3 basic principles that any human being can understand and apply immediately. No special training required, no advanced knowledge needed, no complicated techniques to memorize. Are you ready to discover how simple it really is? There's a reason why quantum shifting has been wrapped in unnecessary complexity, and it has nothing to do with the actual difficulty of the process. It has everything to do with control, profit, and keeping you believing that you need external authorities to change your life. The self-help industry is worth billions of dollars. The spiritual education market generates massive profits. The personal development space thrives on creating dependency. None of these industries benefit when you discover that reality change is naturally simple and immediately accessible. Think about it. If everyone knew that shifting realities was as easy as changing your mind about what's possible, who would buy the expensive courses? Who would attend the weekend seminars? Who would hire the high-priced coaches? The complexity conspiracy operates on multiple levels. First, they use scientific language incorrectly, throwing around terms like quantum entanglement, wave function collapse, and observer effect in ways that sound impressive but actually obscure the simple truth rather than illuminating it. Real quantum physics is actually pointing toward the profound simplicity of consciousness affecting reality, but they've twisted it into something that seems to require a PhD to understand. Second, they create elaborate systems with multiple steps, phases, levels, and requirements. They tell you that you need to master meditation before you can shift realities, or that you need to clear all your trauma before you can manifest, or that you need to raise your vibration to specific frequencies. None of this is true. These are artificial barriers designed to make you believe the process is more difficult than it actually is. Third, they use mystical language that makes simple concepts sound esoteric and unattainable. They talk about ascending to higher dimensions, activating your DNA, opening chakras, and aligning with cosmic forces. While these concepts may have some validity in certain contexts, they're not necessary for basic reality shifting. They're decorative complexity, added to simple processes. The religious and academic establishments also participate in this conspiracy, though often unconsciously. Religions want you to believe that divine power requires intermediaries, special rituals, and institutional approval. Academia wants you to believe that understanding reality requires years of study and expert interpretation. Both benefit when you believe that direct access to creative power is either forbidden or impossibly difficult. Even the New Age spiritual community, despite claiming to empower individuals, often creates new forms of dependency by insisting you need specific crystals, complicated ceremonies, astrological timing, or guru-approved techniques. The truth is simpler than any of these systems suggest. You are consciousness. Consciousness creates reality, and changing your consciousness changes your reality. Everything else is optional decoration. The proof that quantum shifting is naturally simple lies in the fact that you've been doing it your entire life without realizing it. Every time you've changed your mind about something and had your external experience change accordingly, you've performed quantum shifting. Every time you've shifted from a bad mood to a good mood and noticed how differently people responded to you, you've demonstrated quantum shifting. Every time you've changed your beliefs about what's possible and suddenly found new opportunities, You've engaged quantum shifting. The only difference between unconscious quantum shifting that everyone does naturally and conscious quantum shifting that seems miraculous is awareness and intention. That's it. All quantum shifting operates on three elementary principles that require no special knowledge, training, or ability to understand and apply. These principles are so fundamental that they're operating in your life right now, whether you're conscious of them or not. This isn't mystical philosophy, it's practical fact. Your conscious awareness, beliefs, expectations, and focus literally shape what you experience as reality. This happens through multiple mechanisms that science is still discovering, but you don't need to understand the mechanisms to use the principle. Every reality you've ever experienced has been filtered through your consciousness. You've never experienced raw, objective reality. You've always experienced reality as interpreted by your awareness, beliefs, and expectations. When you change your consciousness, you change the reality you experience. It's that simple. This doesn't mean you can violate physical laws or create contradictions. It means that within the infinite possibilities available in any moment, your consciousness determines which possibilities become your actual experience. Similar frequencies of consciousness attract similar experiences. This operates automatically and constantly, regardless of whether you're paying attention or trying to use it deliberately. If you're consistently conscious of lack, limitation, and problems, you'll attract experiences that match that frequency. If you're consistently conscious of abundance, possibility, and solutions, you'll attract experiences that match that frequency. This isn't karma or cosmic justice. It's vibrational mechanics. Your consciousness broadcasts a signal, and reality responds with experiences that match that signal. The key word is consistently. Occasional positive thoughts don't override consistently negative consciousness, just like occasional negative thoughts don't override consistently positive consciousness. The moment you genuinely change your consciousness, your reality begins shifting. This isn't delayed or gradual. It's immediate. The confusion comes from the fact that physical manifestation of consciousness changes can take time, but the quantum shift happens instantly. The moment you truly stop believing in limitation, limitation stops having power over you. The moment you genuinely embrace possibility, possibilities start appearing in your experience. Most people miss this because they're looking for external evidence of change before they believe the shift has happened. But the shift happens in consciousness first, and external evidence follows. These three principles work together automatically. You don't have to make them work. They're always working. You just have to work with them consciously instead of against them unconsciously. The simplicity is profound. Decide what you want to experience. Align your consciousness with that experience. Maintain that alignment consistently, and watch reality reorganize itself around your new conscious state. No complicated techniques required. No special abilities needed. No external permission necessary. The only difficulty comes from the conditioned resistance to believing it could be this simple. We've been programmed to believe that significant change requires significant effort, that valuable things must be difficult to obtain, that power must be earned through struggle. But consciousness change isn't governed by these human beliefs about fairness and effort. It's governed by natural laws that operate with elegant simplicity. A radio doesn't have to struggle to change stations. It just has to change frequency. Your consciousness works the same way. Change frequency, change experience. The resistance you feel to accepting this simplicity is not evidence that it's wrong. It's evidence of how deeply you've been programmed to believe in unnecessary complexity. Children haven't learned this resistance yet, which is why they can shift realities effortlessly through imagination and play. They haven't been taught that it's supposed to be difficult. The establishment, whether educational, religious, commercial, or governmental, has a vested interest in maintaining the illusion that personal power and reality change are complex, difficult, and require external authority. Your understanding of quantum shifting simplicity threatens multiple systems of control and profit. Educational institutions profit from the belief that knowledge requires years of study under approved experts. If people discovered they could access wisdom and understanding directly through consciousness change, the entire educational hierarchy would be threatened. Universities charge enormous fees to teach concepts that could be understood intuitively in moments of expanded awareness. They create artificial scarcity around information that is freely available to any consciousness willing to receive it. The medical establishment benefits from the belief that healing requires external intervention, expensive treatments, and professional expertise. If people realized they could shift their consciousness to support their body's natural healing intelligence, it would revolutionize healthcare and threaten enormous profits. This doesn't mean all medical intervention is unnecessary, but rather that the body's healing capacity has been systematically underestimated to maintain dependence on external authorities. Religious institutions maintain power by positioning themselves as necessary intermediaries between individuals and divine power. If people realized they could access spiritual truth and creative power directly through consciousness change, it would eliminate the need for institutional mediation. Many religious teachings actually point toward the simplicity of direct spiritual access, but institutional interpretations have added layers of complexity to maintain their relevance and authority. The financial system depends on the belief that abundance requires external resources, complicated strategies, and expert management. If people understood that abundance consciousness attracts abundant experiences regardless of starting conditions, it would shift the entire economic paradigm. This doesn't mean money and financial strategy are irrelevant, but rather that consciousness is the primary factor in financial experience, and external strategies are secondary. Government systems rely on citizens believing they need external protection, regulation, and management to create safety and order. If people realized they could create personal and social harmony through consciousness change, it would reduce dependence on governmental authority. Self-aware, empowered individuals require less external control and management, which threatens systems designed around managing dependent populations. The therapy and personal development industries profit from the belief that emotional healing and behavior change require long-term professional intervention. If people discovered they could shift emotional patterns instantly through consciousness change, it would transform these entire fields. This doesn't minimize the value of supportive relationships and professional guidance, but rather recognizes that healing and change happen through consciousness shift, not through external manipulation. Even the spiritual guru system depends on maintaining the illusion that enlightenment and empowerment require special teachings, initiations, and guidance from elevated masters. If people realize that consciousness expansion is their natural birthright and immediately accessible, it would eliminate guru dependency. True spiritual teachers point students toward their own inner authority, rather than creating dependence on external guidance. The complexity conspiracy is maintained through several mechanisms: information overload that creates confusion rather than clarity, contradictory teachings that make people doubt their natural understanding, artificial prerequisites that delay access to simple truths, and expert worship that discourages individual experimentation. Language manipulation plays a crucial role. Simple concepts are buried under technical jargon, mystical terminology, or academic complexity to make them seem inaccessible to ordinary understanding. Fear-based marketing convinces people that attempting quantum shifting without proper guidance is dangerous, irresponsible, or ineffective. This creates dependency on approved methods and authorities. Social pressure reinforces the belief that claiming direct access to reality-changing power is arrogant, delusional, or unrealistic. This keeps people seeking external validation rather than trusting their own experience. The antidote to this conspiracy is direct experimentation with the simple principles. When you discover through personal experience that consciousness change creates reality change, no external authority can convince you otherwise. Your direct knowing becomes more powerful than any external teaching, and you become dangerous to systems that depend on your belief in limitation and dependency. Children are natural quantum shifters because they haven't yet been programmed with the limitations that make adults believe reality change is complicated. Understanding how children naturally operate reveals the simple principles that we can reclaim. Children live in a state of natural presence. They're not constantly thinking about the past or worrying about the future. This present moment awareness is the optimal state for quantum shifting, because reality exists only in the present moment. Adults complicate quantum shifting by trying to change their past or control their future, when all change actually happens through present moment consciousness shifts. Children believe in possibilities without requiring evidence. They can imagine being astronauts, princesses, or superheroes with complete conviction. This belief without evidence is the key to quantum shifting. You have to become the reality before you see the evidence. Adults have been trained to require evidence before believing, which makes quantum shifting seem impossible because the evidence appears after the consciousness change, not before. Children shift emotional states instantly. They can go from crying to laughing in seconds, not because they're emotionally unstable, but because they haven't learned to hold on to emotional patterns. This emotional fluidity is natural quantum shifting in action. Adults create elaborate stories about why they can't change emotional states quickly, making emotional shifting seem like a long, difficult process when it's actually instantaneous. Children play with reality. They understand intuitively that imagination is a tool for trying out different possibilities. They don't separate imagination from reality. They use imagination to explore what could be real. Adults have been taught that imagination is just fantasy and has no impact on reality, when imagination is actually the preview function for consciousness change. Children ask, "Why not?" instead of "Why?" When told something is impossible, their natural response is to question the impossibility rather than accept it. This questioning keeps possibilities alive. Adults have learned to accept limitations as facts, rather than questioning whether they're actually necessary or true. Children expect magic. They haven't been convinced that life is limited to logical, predictable, controllable experiences. This expectation of magic creates space for quantum shifting to occur naturally. Adults have been programmed to expect limitation, struggle, and gradual change, which makes quantum shifting seem unrealistic rather than natural. Children learn through play rather than struggle. They naturally understand that enjoyment accelerates learning and that struggle slows down progress. This playful approach to learning creates optimal conditions for consciousness change. Adults have been taught that valuable learning requires effort and struggle, which creates resistance that actually impairs consciousness change. Children trust their intuition without requiring logical justification. They can sense energy, feel other people's emotions, and know things without being able to explain how they know. This intuitive knowing is direct access to quantum information. Adults have been trained to distrust intuition and rely only on logical analysis, cutting themselves off from direct quantum knowing. Children create through joy rather than need. They paint, sing, dance, and imagine because it feels good, not because they need specific outcomes. This joy-based creation is aligned with natural quantum principles. Adults have learned to create from need, desperation, and external pressure, which creates resistance that blocks natural creative flow. The key to reclaiming your natural quantum shifting ability is to consciously adopt these childlike qualities: present moment awareness, belief without evidence, emotional fluidity, playful imagination, questioning limitations, expecting magic, learning through joy, trusting intuition, and creating from pleasure rather than pressure. This doesn't mean becoming immature or irresponsible. It means reclaiming the natural consciousness qualities that support effortless reality change while maintaining adult wisdom and discernment. You can be simultaneously innocent and wise, playful and focused, trusting and discerning. These apparent contradictions are resolved when you understand that consciousness operates differently than you've been taught. Now that you understand why quantum shifting has been made to seem complicated and how children do it naturally, let me give you the practical formula for instant consciousness shifts that immediately begin changing your reality. The formula has 4 simple steps, and the entire process can happen in minutes or even seconds once you understand how it works. Before you can shift, you need honest awareness of what frequency you're currently broadcasting. This isn't about judgment, it's about clear observation. Ask yourself, what am I consistently conscious of? What thoughts run automatically in my background awareness? What emotions do I feel most often? What do I expect to happen in my life? Your answers reveal your current reality frequency. If you're consistently conscious of problems, limitations, and fears, that's the frequency you're broadcasting. If you're consistently conscious of possibilities, solutions, and excitement, that's your frequency. Most people lie to themselves about their current frequency because they think they should be positive. But you can't shift from where you pretend to be. You can only shift from where you actually are. Decide what you want to be consistently conscious of instead. This isn't about specific outcomes. It's about the quality of consciousness you want to embody. Do you want to be conscious of abundance instead of scarcity? Possibility instead of limitation? Love instead of fear? Solution orientation instead of problem focus? Choose one primary shift for now. Trying to change everything at once creates confusion and resistance. The fastest way to shift frequency is through genuine feeling, not forced thinking. You need to actually feel the new frequency in your body, not just think about it mentally. Find any genuine example from your life where you've felt the desired frequency. It doesn't have to be related to your current goal. Any authentic experience of that feeling will work. If you want abundance consciousness, remember any time you felt genuinely abundant, maybe when you were surrounded by natural beauty, or when you felt love from friends, or when you helped someone and felt the richness of giving. If you want solution consciousness, remember any time you felt genuinely confident in your ability to handle challenges, maybe when you solved a difficult problem, or when you felt creative and resourceful. Use that memory to generate the actual feeling in your body right now. This feeling is the frequency you want to embody consistently. Once you feel the desired frequency genuinely, anchor it by declaring it as your new identity. This is who I am now. This is how I naturally feel. This is my normal state. Make this declaration with conviction while the feeling is strong in your body. You're literally programming your subconscious to recognize this frequency as your new normal. Then, throughout the day, notice when you slip back into old frequency patterns and use the same memory to regenerate the desired feeling. With practice, this becomes automatic. The key is consistency, not perfection. You don't have to maintain the new frequency every moment. You just have to return to it more often than you maintain the old frequency. This formula works because it bypasses mental resistance and works directly with the feeling level where reality shifts actually happen. Thoughts follow feelings, not the other way around. Most people try to think their way into new feelings, which creates mental strain and resistance. This formula generates authentic feelings first, which automatically shifts thoughts and behaviors. The speed of results depends on the genuineness of the feeling and the consistency of practice. Some people experience immediate external changes, while others notice shifts in opportunities, synchronicities, and how people respond to them. But the consciousness change happens instantly when you genuinely feel the new frequency. The external evidence follows at whatever speed serves your highest good. This formula can be used for any type of reality shift: financial, relational, health, career, creative, spiritual. The process is always the same, only the specific frequency changes. Even when people understand the simple formula, they often encounter blocks that prevent them from applying it effectively. These blocks are usually forms of programmed resistance to believing that profound change can be simple and immediate. Many people can't accept that something so important could be so simple. They've been conditioned to believe that valuable things must be difficult to obtain, that easy solutions aren't legitimate, and that shortcuts don't work. This block keeps people searching for more complicated methods that feel more legitimate because of their difficulty, even when simple methods would work better. The antidote is recognizing that nature operates on elegant simplicity. The most powerful forces in the universe, gravity, electromagnetic radiation, atomic structure, operate on simple principles that create complex effects. Consciousness is the most fundamental force, so it makes sense that it would operate on the simplest principles of all. Some people refuse to use quantum shifting principles until they understand exactly how they work mechanistically. They want scientific explanations, logical proofs, and complete theoretical frameworks before they'll experiment. This block prevents direct experience, which is the only way to really understand consciousness principles. It's like refusing to drive until you understand internal combustion engines. The antidote is recognizing that you use many things effectively without understanding how they work. Electricity, computers, your own body. You can use consciousness principles while scientists figure out the mechanisms. Many people believe that powerful reality-changing abilities are reserved for special, advanced, or spiritually developed individuals. They don't feel worthy of having direct access to quantum shifting. This block keeps people seeking external authorization and approval, instead of experimenting with their own natural abilities. The antidote is understanding that consciousness is your birthright, not a privilege to be earned. Every human being has the same fundamental consciousness that creates reality. Some people worry that changing reality through consciousness might create negative consequences, violate spiritual laws, or interfere with divine will. This block is often created by teachings that warn against using spiritual power without proper training or authorization. The antidote is recognizing that you're already creating reality through consciousness every moment. You're just doing it unconsciously. Conscious creation is safer than unconscious creation because you can choose beneficial outcomes. Many people won't trust their own experience of quantum shifting until experts, authorities, or scientific studies confirm that what they're experiencing is real and legitimate. This block prevents people from building confidence in their natural abilities and keeps them dependent on external approval. The antidote is valuing your direct experience over any external opinion. If consciousness change creates reality change in your experience, that's more reliable than any external authority's opinion about whether it's possible. Some people believe they need to heal all trauma, clear all limiting beliefs, raise their vibration, and achieve emotional mastery before they can successfully shift realities. This block creates endless preparation that postpones actual experimentation with quantum shifting. The antidote is understanding that quantum shifting can happen regardless of your psychological or spiritual condition. Consciousness change is always available, and it actually accelerates healing and clearing rather than requiring it first. Many people wait for ideal circumstances, enough time, no stress, supportive environment, proper training, before they'll attempt quantum shifting. This block postpones indefinitely because perfect conditions never arrive in ordinary life. The antidote is practicing quantum shifting in imperfect conditions, which builds confidence and demonstrates that consciousness change is stronger than external circumstances. Some people believe that real change must be gradual, and that instant transformation is either impossible or unstable. This block prevents people from even attempting instant shifts and makes them settle for slow, incremental change. The antidote is understanding that consciousness change is naturally instant. Even when external manifestation takes time, you can experience immediate relief, clarity, and empowerment through instant consciousness shifts. These blocks are all variations of the same core programming, the belief that you are powerless and that reality change requires external permission, complicated processes, or special conditions. The truth is simpler. You are consciousness. Consciousness creates reality, and you can change your reality by changing your consciousness. Everything else is optional complexity. Understanding simple quantum shifting principles is only valuable if you can apply them to create actual improvements in your daily life. Here are practical applications for the most common areas where people want reality change. Instead of focusing on getting money, focus on shifting to abundance consciousness. Abundance consciousness naturally attracts abundant experiences, including financial ones. Practice feeling abundant by appreciating what you already have, remembering times when you felt financially secure, and imagining the feeling of knowing you always have enough. Notice how differently you think, speak, and act when you feel abundant versus when you feel scarce. Maintain abundant feeling more consistently than scarce feeling. Instead of trying to attract specific people or change existing relationships, shift to love consciousness. Love consciousness automatically improves all relationships and attracts loving experiences. Practice feeling loving by focusing on what you appreciate about people, remembering times when you felt deeply loved and embodying the energy you want to receive. Notice how people respond differently when you embody genuine love versus need, fear, or judgment. Instead of fighting illness or forcing wellness, shift to vitality consciousness. Vitality consciousness supports your body's natural healing and maintenance processes. Practice feeling vitally alive by appreciating your body's constant functioning, remembering times when you felt energetic and strong, and imagining the sensation of perfect health. Notice how your body responds to appreciation and positive expectation versus criticism and worry. Instead of forcing career changes or struggling in unsatisfying work, shift to purpose consciousness. Purpose consciousness attracts opportunities aligned with your natural talents and interests. Practice feeling purposeful by engaging in activities that energize you, remembering times when work felt meaningful, and imagining the satisfaction of contributing value. Notice how opportunities appear when you embody purpose versus when you operate from obligation or desperation. Instead of struggling to be creative or comparing yourself to others, shift to inspiration consciousness. Inspiration consciousness naturally flows through you as creative ideas and artistic expression. Practice feeling inspired by engaging with beauty, remembering times when creativity flowed easily, and appreciating your unique perspective and gifts. Notice how creativity emerges naturally when you feel inspired versus when you try to force it. Instead of trying to build confidence through achievements or affirmations, shift to natural confidence consciousness. This is confidence based on recognizing your inherent worth rather than external accomplishments. Practice feeling naturally confident by appreciating your unique qualities, remembering times when you felt genuinely self-assured, and embodying the energy of someone who knows their value. Notice how different situations feel when you approach them from natural confidence versus insecurity or false bravado. Instead of trying to control external circumstances to feel peaceful, shift to peace consciousness. Peace consciousness remains stable regardless of external conditions. Practice feeling peaceful by connecting with your deeper self, beyond surface thoughts and emotions, remembering times when you felt truly calm, and embodying the energy of acceptance. Notice how external circumstances seem to stabilize when you maintain inner peace versus when you react emotionally to everything. The key to all applications is the same. Identify the consciousness quality underlying what you want to experience, practice feeling that quality genuinely, and maintain it more consistently than opposite qualities. This works because consciousness is the causal level of reality. External circumstances are effects of consciousness, not causes of it. Most people try to change effects while maintaining the same consciousness that created them. This approach requires enormous effort and produces temporary results at best. Quantum shifting changes causes, which naturally and effortlessly changes effects. This is why simple consciousness changes can produce what seem like miraculous external transformations. The applications are limited only by your imagination and willingness to experiment. Any quality of experience you want to have can be cultivated through consciousness shifting, and will naturally attract corresponding external circumstances. Once you've mastered the basic instant shift formula, these advanced techniques can accelerate your quantum shifting abilities while maintaining the essential simplicity that makes them effective. Instead of trying to shift your current reality, simply download a new one from the infinite field of possibilities. This technique treats consciousness like software that can be upgraded instantly. Close your eyes and imagine accessing a cosmic database of all possible realities. Browse through different versions of your life until you find one that resonates perfectly with your desires. Mentally select that reality and download it into your consciousness like installing new software. Feel the new reality integrating into your awareness until it becomes your new normal. This technique bypasses resistance by not trying to change anything. You're simply choosing a different reality that already exists in potential. Every possibility you can imagine exists as a parallel version of yourself in alternate timelines. This technique involves consciously merging with the version of yourself who already embodies your desired reality. Visualize the version of yourself who already has what you want. See them clearly, feel their energy, understand their consciousness and perspective, then step into that version of yourself, literally merging your awareness with theirs until you become them. Feel their confidence, their natural state, their way of being. This technique works because these parallel selves are actually real possibilities within your consciousness, not fantasies outside it. Your reality is created by your unconscious assumptions about what's normal, possible, and true. This technique consciously replaces limiting assumptions with empowering ones. Identify your current assumptions by completing these sentences. Life is, money is, relationships are, success is, I am. Then consciously choose new assumptions that support your desired reality. Instead of money is hard to earn, assume money flows easily to me. Instead of I am limited, assume I am capable of anything. Repeat your new assumptions until they feel natural and automatic. Your reality will reshape itself around these new foundational beliefs. Every reality has an emotional signature, a characteristic feeling tone that defines its quality. This technique involves identifying and embodying the emotional signature of your desired reality. Ask yourself, how would I feel if my desired reality was already true? Don't think about it. Feel into it directly. What is the overall emotional tone of that reality? Maybe it feels light, expansive, exciting, peaceful, powerful, or joyful. Whatever the feeling is, practice embodying it as your natural emotional state. This emotional signature acts like a homing beacon that attracts experiences matching its frequency. Your identity determines what realities are available to you. This technique consciously reconstructs your identity to match your desired reality. Ask yourself, who would I need to be for my desired reality to be natural and inevitable? What qualities, beliefs, and characteristics would that version of you embody? Then begin acting as if you already are that person. Make decisions from their perspective. Adopt their attitudes. Embody their energy. This isn't pretending or fake it till you make it. It's recognizing that identity is fluid and can be consciously chosen. Instead of gradually changing your current timeline, this technique involves jumping to a completely different timeline where your desired reality already exists. Visualize your current timeline as one thread among many possible timelines, See the timeline where your desired reality already exists, running parallel to your current one. Consciously choose to step from your current timeline into the desired one. Feel yourself literally moving from one reality track to another. This technique works because time is not linear from the quantum perspective. All possibilities exist simultaneously and can be accessed through consciousness choice. This technique involves directly programming the quantum field with your desired reality, rather than trying to manipulate existing circumstances. Connect with the infinite field of pure potential that underlies all realities. Feel yourself merging with this field until you become one with it. From this unified state, simply declare your desired reality into existence with complete authority and certainty. You're not asking or hoping, you're creating. This technique requires absolute faith in your creative power, but when used correctly, it can produce instant and miraculous results. All of these advanced techniques maintain the essential simplicity of quantum shifting. They're all variations of changing consciousness to change reality. The sophistication comes from understanding different angles and approaches, not from adding complexity to the basic process. As you develop your quantum shifting abilities, you'll encounter people, systems, and situations that try to pull you back into believing that reality change is complicated. Maintaining simplicity in the face of these influences is crucial for continued effectiveness. When you start demonstrating quantum shifting abilities, some people will try to convince you that what you're experiencing isn't real, isn't sustainable, or isn't replicable. They may offer complex explanations for why your simple methods can't work. Remember that skepticism often comes from people who are invested in limitation, either financially or psychologically. Your success threatens their worldview that significant change is difficult or impossible. Don't argue with skeptics or try to convince them. Simply continue using simple methods and demonstrating results. Your lived example is more powerful than any argument. When dealing with criticism, ask yourself, is this person's life demonstrating the results I want to create? If not, their opinion about your methods has no practical value. As you become more skilled at quantum shifting, you might be tempted to collect complicated techniques, exotic teachings, and impressive credentials. This spiritual materialism can actually reduce your effectiveness by adding unnecessary complexity. True mastery lies in using simpler methods to achieve better results, not in accumulating more sophisticated techniques. Regularly return to the basics and notice if you're making things more complicated than necessary. If a simple technique works, there's no need to upgrade to a complex one. Quantum shifting can become an escape from practical responsibility if you focus too much on consciousness change without paying attention to real-world effectiveness. Always measure your quantum shifting practice by its practical results. Is your life actually improving? Are you achieving your goals? Are you becoming more effective in the world? If your practice isn't producing tangible improvements, you may be adding unnecessary complexity or avoiding practical action that needs to be taken. As your reality-changing abilities develop, you might become isolated from others who don't understand or share your perspective. This isolation can lead to losing touch with collective human experiences and responsibilities. Remember that quantum shifting is meant to enhance your contribution to the world, not separate you from it. Use your abilities to serve others and improve collective conditions, not just for personal gain. When quantum shifting starts producing significant results in your life, you may attract attention, influence, and resources that come with responsibility. Success can become as much of a test as struggle. Stay humble about your abilities, while being confident in their effectiveness. Remember that consciousness-based power is meant to be used for benefit, not domination. Don't let success convince you that you need to make your methods more complex to seem more legitimate. Simple methods that work are superior to complex methods that impress. If you choose to share quantum shifting with others, focus on empowering them to discover their own simple methods, rather than making them dependent on your specific techniques. The goal is to help others realize their natural abilities, not to create followers who need your continued guidance. Always point people toward their own inner authority and direct experience rather than making them dependent on external teachings or approval. Quantum shifting doesn't require you to abandon existing responsibilities, relationships, or commitments. It enhances your effectiveness within whatever life structure you choose. Don't use consciousness practice as an excuse to avoid practical responsibilities or difficult but necessary tasks. Instead, use quantum shifting to approach these tasks from a more effective consciousness state. The most powerful application of quantum shifting is improving your performance in ordinary life situations, not escaping from them. Quantum shifting can produce dramatic short-term results, but lasting transformation requires consistent application over time. Maintain patience for the deeper changes while appreciating immediate improvements. Don't abandon simple practices when they work. That's precisely when they should be maintained and refined. Success is a reason to continue, not to change methods. Build sustainable practices that you can maintain regardless of external circumstances or mood changes. The highest level of quantum shifting appears effortless, not because it requires no skill, but because the skill has become so natural that it operates automatically without conscious effort. Understanding this paradox prevents both laziness and unnecessary struggle. True mastery involves conscious choice without strain. You're fully aware of what you're doing and why, but you're not forcing outcomes through willpower or tension. This is like a master musician who plays complex pieces effortlessly. They're not unconscious of their technique, but their skill has become so integrated that it flows naturally. In quantum shifting, effortless mastery means you can shift consciousness states at will without internal resistance or external drama. What appears to be natural talent is usually the result of consistent practice that has made conscious skills unconscious habits. Quantum shifting mastery develops the same way. Initially, consciousness shifting requires deliberate effort and attention. With practice, it becomes automatic and effortless. The key is practicing simple techniques consistently until they become natural responses rather than forced efforts. Advanced practitioners don't eliminate resistance. They become skilled at working with it. They understand that resistance often contains important information and can be leveraged rather than fought. When you encounter internal resistance to consciousness shifting, instead of forcing through it, get curious about what it's protecting or communicating. Sometimes resistance indicates you're moving too fast and need to proceed more gently. Sometimes it reveals beliefs that need updating before the shift can occur sustainably. Quantum shifting mastery doesn't happen all at once across all areas of life. It typically develops in layers, with some areas transforming quickly while others require more time and patience. Don't expect uniform progress in all areas simultaneously. Allow different aspects of your life to transform at their own pace while maintaining consistent practice. Notice which areas shift easily for you, and use those successes to build confidence for working with more challenging areas. True simplicity is sophisticated. It's not the simplicity of ignorance, but the simplicity that emerges from understanding complexity so deeply that it resolves into elegant basics. Master quantum shifters can use complex techniques when appropriate, but they prefer simple ones because they're more efficient and reliable. This sophistication allows them to adapt their approach to different situations while maintaining the fundamental simplicity that makes quantum shifting effective. The ultimate test of quantum shifting mastery isn't how well you understand theories or how impressive your techniques appear, but how effectively you create positive change in your actual life experience. Real mastery produces consistent improvements in health, relationships, finances, creativity, and overall life satisfaction. If your practice isn't producing tangible benefits, return to simpler approaches and focus on what actually works rather than what seems advanced. Advanced practitioners often find themselves naturally teaching others, not through formal instruction, but through their way of being and the results they demonstrate. This teaching happens through example rather than explanation, through embodiment rather than technique sharing. The most powerful teaching of quantum shifting is simply living from shifted consciousness and allowing others to notice the difference. The more skilled you become at quantum shifting, the more you realize how much you don't know and how much further the possibilities extend. True masters remain students, always curious about deeper applications and more refined understanding. This humility prevents spiritual ego and keeps you open to continued learning and growth. Advanced quantum shifting naturally leads to service because consciousness expansion reveals our interconnectedness with all life. Using these abilities purely for personal gain eventually feels hollow and limited. The natural evolution is toward benefiting others and contributing to collective evolution. This service orientation actually enhances your quantum shifting abilities because it aligns you with larger currents of positive change. Quantum shifting mastery isn't reserved for special people or those with particular backgrounds. It's available to anyone willing to practice consistently with simple methods. The only requirements are curiosity, persistence, and willingness to experiment with consciousness change. Your current circumstances, education level, spiritual background, or previous experience don't determine your potential for mastery. The greatest conspiracy against human potential is the lie that changing your reality is complicated. This lie keeps billions of people trapped in limitation when they could be living in expanded possibility. The truth is revolutionary in its simplicity. You are consciousness. Consciousness creates reality. And changing your consciousness immediately begins changing your reality. Everything else is optional decoration, added by those who profit from your confusion. Children know this instinctively, which is why they can shift realities effortlessly through imagination and belief. You once knew this too, before you were educated out of your natural abilities. The three simple principles: consciousness creates reality, like attracts like, change is instant, are all you need to transform any aspect of your life. The four-step formula: identify current frequency, choose desired frequency, bridge through feeling, anchor the shift, can be applied to any situation. You don't need years of study, expensive courses, complex techniques, or external permission. You need only the willingness to experiment with your natural consciousness abilities and the persistence to practice until simplicity becomes mastery. The blocks you encounter are not evidence that quantum shifting is difficult. They're evidence of how deeply you've been programmed to believe in limitation. Each block you overcome makes the next shift easier. The applications are limitless because consciousness is the foundation of all experience. Any reality you can imagine is available to you through consciousness change. Your mastery of these simple principles doesn't just transform your personal life, it contributes to the evolution of human consciousness toward greater freedom, creativity, and possibility. The establishment wants you to believe that power is complicated, so you'll remain dependent on their systems and authorities. Your demonstration of simple, effective reality change is a revolutionary act that gives others permission to reclaim their natural abilities. Every time you shift consciousness and create positive change, you prove that transformation is simple and available to anyone. You become evidence that the complexity conspiracy is false and that human potential is far greater than we've been taught. The universe isn't holding back your dreams because you haven't learned the right techniques or paid your dues through suffering. It's waiting for you to remember the simple truth of your creative nature and start using it consciously. Quantum shifting is your birthright, not a privilege to be earned. Simplicity is your natural state, not a goal to be achieved. Power is your essence, not a quality to be developed. Stop seeking complexity where simplicity will serve. Stop believing you need external authority for what is already yours. Stop waiting for permission to use abilities you were born with. The only thing standing between you and the reality of your dreams is your belief that it has to be complicated. Release that belief and watch how quickly life transforms when you work with its natural simplicity instead of against it. If this message resonates with your inner knowing, if you felt something shift while listening, leave one word in the comments that represents your commitment to embracing the simplicity of quantum shifting. That word becomes your reminder that truth is simple and power is natural. And if this perspective has liberated you from the complexity conspiracy, I invite you to subscribe and join a community of people who understand that changing reality is natural, simple, and immediately available to anyone willing to remember their true nature. The quantum field isn't complex. Consciousness is simple. You aren't limited. You've been lied to. Reality isn't fixed. It's fluid. Change isn't difficult. Resistance is optional. Welcome home to the simplicity of your infinite creative power.